Salutations people of YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I am really excited because today we are taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beast Voyager class Rhinox. If any of you have seen my Transformers Rise of the Beast review, don't watch it by the way, it's pretty terrible, you'll know that I am not a big fan of Rhinox in the movie. I thought he didn't do anything remarkable at all, and I didn't even remember him speaking at all. But I cannot deny that this design is pretty darn epic. And the Studio Series representation appears to be just as cool as the actual design itself. And if we take a closer look at the packaging here, you can see a really cool artwork of the Beast Mode along with the figure itself, of course. On this side, you get another artwork of the Beast Mode. At the back of the box, as usual, there are some product shots, of course. And on this side, you get a cool artwork of the Robot Mode there. At the top, the Rise of the Beast's title card. And at the bottom is, of course. So yes, I am incredibly excited for this one. And why don't we just move over to my review station? I'll unbox this guy and we'll see if he is worth my weight. And here is the Studio Series Rise of the Beast Voyager class Rhinox out of his packaging. So far, I think it's pretty safe to say that this figure absolutely delivered. It can look a bit bland from some angles, which I'll talk about in the rest of the review. But other than some minor nitpicks, I gotta say this figure is pretty cool so far. So as per usual, why don't we just jump straight into his accessories. Of course, as with any Studio Series figures, we get this backdrop, which I guess this was the temple that was in the movie, but this is nighttime for some reason. Kinda reminds me of Dino's level in the Dark of the Moon game, actually. Oh, I'm sorry, Mirage as the game called him. Screw you, game. Yeah, it goes without saying that this backdrop is pretty darn useless. Okay, though, seriously, if you guys actually do know what this is supposed to represent, please let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious. Anyways, throwing this stuff to the side again, and you get Rhinox's hammer accessory. This thing is pretty cool despite having very minimal paint, but what little paint we do get is actually very cleanly placed. This thing can transform, but that's more for the alternate mode, and also the weapon storage. As far as getting the figure to hold this is actually pretty darn easy. Just plop it into either one of his hands, whoop, and you want to push down when you get to this whole smooth area. Yeah. And here's Rise of the Beast's Rhinox holding on. And here is Rise of the Beast's Rhinox holding his hammer weapon, ready to demolish some TerrorCon baddies. The figure does look pretty awesome like this. Granted, the posability is a bit limited, but you can still get some really cool hammer poses with this guy. I don't even know if this is actually supposed to be a hammer. Maybe it's a mallet, meat crusher, missile pods? It's a bit sad not seeing those Gatling gun weapons that he used in the original Beast Wars being adapted into this live action version. But I gotta say on its own, this thing really suits his appearance. So yeah, that would be all for his accessories. Now let's get straight into the details. Comparing this guy to some screenshots from the film would be quite difficult. I mean, he only showed up for like 5 seconds in the film. Again, not a big fan of how he was integrated within the film. But one thing I can easily do is to compare him with some screenshots of the original Rhinox from the Beast Wars series. And I gotta say, pretty good live action adaptation here, Paramount. Though the colors are a bit off and he is missing quite a few rhino kibble, the body type is close enough, the silhouette is there. This actually looks like a variation of Rhinox. Cheater! And it becomes more apparent the fact that this is Rhinox when we take a look at his head sculpt. Fantastic adaptation into live action. Gonna be hard to deny that this is actually Rhinox. I will say though, not a big fan of the gray plastic they decided to cast the head in. These silver accents really are the saving grace for this head. The sculpt itself is really good, it's just this cast plastic is really bland. Unfortunately, you do get this cast gray plastic throughout the entire figure, but in my opinion, the head is definitely the worst offender when it comes to that. The rest of the figure really doesn't look as bland, except when we get to the wrists and the back of the figure. Speaking of which, this backpack is really good, missing the rhino kibble of the original Beast Wars character, but I gotta admit it does look a bit better like this. If you are gonna get rid of any Beast Mode kibbles, might as well get rid of the ones that actually look quite obtrusive. Gee, Cheetor! I also really love the engineering that was put into this whole back thingy. You see, if we bring our old friend Cheetor here, his butt flap is only on a hinge joint, which makes it look really awkward, especially if you get him in a vanilla pose and you look at him from the back and wow, he's got a big ass butt skirt. But not quite so with Rhinox. The only inaccurate piece of detail here would be the tail, which yeah, I would love for them to integrate some kind of double hinge joint system that Cheetor's tail had, but the butt flap is definitely handled way better. So for the transformation, this whole piece will extend onto here. You can see how that sort of accordions and overlaps with the back, and I really think this Cheetor could have benefited from something like that, but whatever, I'm not reviewing Cheetor right now, I'm reviewing Rhinox. I'm really grateful that they were able to patch that out. Plugging this back in, as I've said earlier, the back does look a bit bland due to it only being cast and not painted at all, which I can't say really bothers me, but I don't like it. It's almost serviceable, but when you consider that the arms and the legs are really nicely spruced with this sort of metallic silver paint, kinda makes the back stand out a bit more. And the feet also suffer from the same fate. Also, I would really love to see more of this sort of bronze type of color throughout the figure to make it look more in line with the original character, but I guess what we got here is good enough. So in the paint department, this guy is pretty okay. Really nice silver paint in some areas, but bland cast gray plastic in others. But the sculpting on this figure is what really makes it for me. Look at the amount of rust and indents they've made into this chest area, and the shoulders, and the forearms, and the legs, everywhere. It looks so good. I can imagine a custom painter having a field day with this figure. Seriously, with this type of sculpt and this type of paint, it would make the figure look like it's actually made out of metal. Again, if we compare him to his old pal Cheetor, lots of clean, smooth surfaces all around. Some nice texturing for detail here, but not really much anywhere. Don't get me wrong, I actually really do like this Cheetor figure if you saw my shorts review. But this Rhinox just takes live action Maximal to a whole other level. In terms of sculpt, in terms of paint, Cheetor is actually kind of bland as well. But not really in terms of posability. You get a pretty good range ball joint at the head, but it is a bit tight and a bit obtrused by this whole neck guard area. So just take your time with it and be patient and you'll get it moving. The shoulders rotate all the way 360. If you detach this armpit piece, you're gonna get an armpit joint going backwards. Butterfly joint, whatever. I don't really recommend this because it looks kind of ugly, so just put crap. Yeah, these shoulder pads are also kind of an issue. They pop off quite a lot. It's not like it's the easiest thing to put this back in. There you go, I did it off camera, I'm sorry. Speaking of these shoulder pads, they can move outward, which allows the arms to move out that far. Elbow rotation, you actually have to hold this entire bicep section. A single jointed elbow that doesn't quite meet 90 degrees, but that's okay. Wrist rotation, which is actually quite surprising. If you flip out this tail, you get a nice waist swivel. Skirt flap can move out, allowing for the legs to kick forward that far, back about that far. He can do the splits. There you go. Nice thigh rotation, single jointed knee. A little word of advice here. Out of the packaging, the second knee joint for the transformation is actually detached, which made the figure feel quite horrible. But if you just get it locked into place like so, no such issue ever existed. Oh my goodness, I did. So for the robot mode, you're supposed to flip out this calf piece like this, but it's honestly such a minor change that I actually forgot to do it. What difference does it make for the Rhino mode? So yeah, I'm really sorry, and I'm not gonna refilm all those footage. I mean, you can barely notice a difference. Anyways, for the angles, moves down that far. No side-to-side rotation, but there is a really nice ankle pivot. The posability on this guy is actually kind of limited, but that is definitely just due to the nature of the actual design itself. Plus, you can still get him into a lot of dynamic poses, so I'm not that mad about it. And now let's not waste any time and get straight into his size comparisons. Here's Rise of the Beasts Rhinox next to the only Beast Wars Maximal figure that I have, the Kingdom Dinobot. The Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Battle Trap. David Sobolov actually voiced this guy more than he did Rhinox. What a shame. These two look pretty awesome together though. Definitely gonna take some pictures of them fighting each other. Compare him to a regular 6-inch scale figure, we have the Marvel Legends Mr. Knight. And finally, the only other live action Maximal that I've picked up so far, the Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Cheetor. Eraser looks film inaccurate and Optimus Primal hasn't come out yet. I can already tell these two are going to make for a really cool display pieces together, along with the upcoming Optimus Primal, of course. Now, without any further, let's get on to his transformation. Rhinox Maximize! Preach. A little word of caution here, please be careful of these soft pieces. If you get them stuck on the joints, they might get warped or even rip over time, so yeah, just be careful with that. And here is Rhinox in his really cool looking mechanical Rhino alt mode, and I am really impressed by this. As an Indonesian, this mode actually kind of hits close to home because we have a lot of rhinos here in our country. But this is actually a mechanical rhino and my country doesn't have any one of those. Lame. And I think this figure looks really good. Gotta love how they nailed the curvature of a real rhino here. None of that blocky butt that the mainline figure had. This rhino head looks really good. Again, cast in bland gray plastic, but I'm honestly kind of over it at this point. A bit annoying how this horn won't stay in place. Damn, those guys are horny ones. If you bend these horns a bit too far, you might actually detach the head, so be careful with that. It's just a minor issue, but I thought it was worth pointing out. But an issue that is a little bit bigger in my opinion is this gaping chest. It's not that much of a visual issue because you actually can't see the chest from a lot of angles. It's more that it just feels weird. You know, you get this huge rhino pot belly but then nothing at the chest. It just feels kind of awkward. But other than that, I think this rhino mode looks pretty great. I am currently contemplating on whether I should display this figure in robot or rhino mode. That's how much I actually like this rhino mode. And of course, for weapon storage, you want to transform this mallet first like this and plug it onto his back. Guess this is supposed to be a missile pod. Looks really weird, but hey, it's weapon storage. Would have been kind of nice if they could have figured out a way to store this weapon in his gaping chest, but hey, what you gonna do? And of course, because this is a beast mode, he does have some posability, which includes a hinge joint at the head. No ball joint, so he can't rotate at the head, unfortunately. Jaw articulation, which I think realistically speaking, if this was a real rhino, the hinge joint should have been about right here. But I guess because this is not supposed to be a real rhino, they can get away with it. And you even get some nice and subtle mouth texturing there. His shoulders can move forwards and kind of backwards if you move them out. And of course, it can move out. Bend at the elbows sideways, ball joint at the rhino foot, which I guess if you want to bend his elbows forwards, you can rotate the bicep like this and rotate the feet so that he looks like that. That might work in some poses actually. The hind legs can move back about that far. It can move forward a little bit, and the ankles are the same as they were in robot mode, with the nice cherry on top being this tail hinge joint. Overall, I really like this huge and chunky beast mode. Size comparisons. Here's Rhinox next to Dinobot, Battle Trap, Mr. Knight. Comparing the Rhino mode to a 3 3/4 inch human figure, we have the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Owen Grady. And finally, Cheetor. These two look really good next to each other. And there goes my review for the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Voyager class Rhinox figure. Overall, it's a really nicely done figure. So far, at least, this is probably my favorite Rise of the Beasts figure, even dethroning Battletrap, whom I love very much. That is definitely mostly due to the sculpt work throughout his body. Really well sculpted piece of work here. Articulation ain't too shabby. The paint could have been better, but it's still not bad. Yeah, really great figure. If you are a fan of Transformers Rise of the Beast, then I highly recommend this figure. Or if you're just a fan of Transformers in general, I still do recommend this figure. And I hope you all would recommend my review to other people. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with a friend. Thank you so much for watching my video. I will hopefully see you all next time. Goodbye!